Shalom, everyone. If you're watching this, I hope you are doing well. Today I am at the Red River Gorge at the Pinchum Tight Trailhead. Not sure why it's called that. Hopefully I don't need to pinch them tight. I am hiking out to Hanson's Point today, which is one of the best views at Red River Gorge. So come along and join me.
This is the Peter Pan story. Peter Pan is this magical boy. Pan is the god of everything, roughly speaking. It's not an accident that he has the name Pan. And he's the boy that won't grow up. And he's magical. Well, that's because children are magical. They can be anything. They're nothing but potential. Peter Pan doesn't want to give that up. Why? Well, he's got some adults around him, but the main adult is Captain Hook. Who the hell wants to grow up to be Captain Hook? First of all, you've got a hook. Second, you're a tyrant. And third, you're chased by the dragon of chaos with a clock in its stomach. The crocodile, it's already got a piece of you. Well, that's what happens when you get older. Time has already got a piece of you. And eventually, it's got a taste for you. And eventually, it's going to eat you. Hook is so traumatized by that he can't help but be a tyrant. And then Peter Pan looks at traumatized Hook and says, well, no, I'm not sacrificing my childhood for that. He ends up king of the Lost Boys. Sacrifice. You get to pick your damn sacrifice. That's all. Sacrifice. You don't get to not make one. You're sacrificial whether you want to be or not. And who the hell wants to be king of the Lost Boys? And he also sacrifices the possibility that he'll have a real relationship with a woman, because that's Wendy. She wants to grow up and have kids and have a life. She accepts her mortality. She accepts her maturity. Peter Pan has to content himself with Tinkerbell. She doesn't even exist. She's like the fairy of porn. She doesn't exist. She's the substitute for the real thing. There's a sacrificial element in maturation. You have to sacrifice the pluripotentiality of childhood for the actuality of a frame. Well, why would you do that? One reason is it happens to you whether you do it or not. You can either choose your damn limitation, or you can let it take you unaware when you're 30, or even worse, when you're 40. That is not a happy day. Sacrifice. You get to pick your damn sacrifice. That's all. Sacrifice. You don't get to not make one. You're sacrificial whether you want to be or not. When you're 25, you can be an idiot. It's no problem. Okay, well now you're the same person at 30. It's like people aren't so thrilled about you at that point. It's like, what the hell have you been doing for the last 10 years? Well, I'm just as clueless as I was when I was 22. Yeah, but you're not 22. You're an old infant. And that's an ugly thing. You choose your damn sacrifice. Because the sacrifice is inevitable. But at least you get to choose it. The problem with being a child is that all you are is potential. And it's really low resolution. You could be anything, but you're not anything. So then you go and you adopt an apprenticeship. At least you become something. And when you're something, that makes the world open up to you again. If you're a really good plumber, then you end up being far more than a plumber. You end up being a good employer. You run a business, you train some other people, you enlarge their lives, you're kind of a pillar of the community, you have your family. It's family. Once you pass through that narrow training period, which narrows you and constricts you and develops you at the same time, then you can come out the other end with a bunch of new possibility at hand. And Jung talked about that. He thought that part of the proper path of development in the last half of life was to rediscover the child that you left behind as you were apprenticing. And so then you get to be something and regain that potential at the same time. Sacrifice. You get to pick your damn sacrifice. That's all. Sacrifice. You don't get to not make one. So you're sacrificial whether you want to be or not. Sacrifice. You get to pick your damn sacrifice. That's all. Sacrifice. You don't get to not make one. So you're sacrificial whether you want to be or not.
We're gonna head out for the heart and everything, but it's a way back to a place we wish we'd never see again. Champions of the wild side, once behind your door. No one needs the answer no more. People know their way around, like pilots going down. Raise your hands and thank the one that sets you free. I see magic in what's brown, but I forget the things I see. What's the point of being young when you're still feeling me? Where's our moment in the sun when I would lose myself in you, and you would lose yourself in me?
Hey, I want to show you something. Wapow! Here we are. This is Hanson's Point. It is the best view in all of Red River Gorge. And I'm happy I was able to get out here before all the leaves fell off the trees. So it wouldn't look as nice, would it? No campfire tonight. It's 77 degrees, so campfire is totally unnecessary. My tent is only a 2-minute walk from here. I was thinking about coming out here with my camp chair and a glass of wine to watch the sunset, but unfortunately, see the sun up there? It's setting away from this view, so it would be pointless and also not worth the risk. I'd risk it if the sun was setting that direction, because that would be beautiful to watch, but here we are. Got my food hanging in a tree since there's black bears around here. It's nearly 4:30. I'll eat probably around 5:30. Then drink my wine outside of the tent, watch a movie, and go to bed. But I really hope you enjoy these views. Let me get my ugly face out of there. Show you one more time. Absolutely beautiful. Drinking alcohol is prohibited at Red River Gorge. So I filled this with grape juice that wasn't fermented long enough to become wine. Okay. I'm still pretty depressed about that garbage backpacking meal that I just had. $13 that cost me. What are you gonna do? Wow, it is so beautiful out here. Wind's picking up a little bit. Other than that, it's really quiet. Earlier, right after I got done setting my tent up, a helicopter flew like right through this area, and it must have been 20 feet over where I'm sitting right now, because from my campsite I could see it through the trees. So I'm glad I wasn't out here when that happened. I might have gotten blown off this rock. So I decided to get a fire going. It's still nice and warm, but I wanted the smell of smoke to go around, ward off any potential black bears, and also campfires are nature's deodorant and gnat/mosquito repellent. Story time. So I recorded this story when I was out on Hanson's Points, and I just rewatched it, and unfortunately the wind is so bad, and I don't have a lav mic that hooks up here, so it was you would have gotten a headache listening to it. You still might get a headache listening to the story itself, but the wind was just too bad, so I apologize. I'm gonna have to tell the story in my cramped little tent. So I went to Amsterdam in 2013 with my study abroad trip on one of our free weekends. I was in charge of booking the hostel. I chose a place called Dirty Nellie's Irish Pub, and it was one street over from the red light district. We had 2 rooms to ourselves, and then 1 bed in a room with 7 other beds, so 8 beds total. We knew that the 7 beds would be with random people, so I volunteered the first night to sleep in that bed with the randos. Turned out to be some Spanish tourists, didn't speak a word of English. They were very nice from the, body language I could get from them. And so anyway, we checked into the hostel, everyone dumped their stuff, and of course the first thing you do is you go to a coffee shop, an Amsterdam coffee shop. Devil's lettuce. Also, don't tell the black bears. Yeah, taking a little bit of a risk with this, but hey, you only live once. So, we go to the first coffee shop. Well, the first and only coffee shop for me. I get 2 cone joints for myself, and immediately spark up, and within 10 minutes, a guy walks into the coffee shop, and I'm looking at him, and I'm thinking, that dude has some amazing tattoos from here to here, just awesome tattoos. I'm like, looking at this guy. My buddy Nick's next to me, so I look at Nick, I'm like, hey dude, look at that dude's tattoos. Pretty sweet. Nick looks at me. He's wearing a sweater? So, that's where I was at, within 10 minutes. Then I start getting dizzy and nauseous. What is the saying? In for a pound, in for a penny, whatever it is. But yeah, I went straight in the deep end. I told my group, like, guys, I'm a burden. I need to go back to the hostel and just go to sleep because I'm pretty useless right now. So we all walk back to the hostel. They drop me off. I go up to the room and I go to sleep. I wake up. It is pitch black, and all I can hear is Spanish. And I'm so high, I have no idea what the fuck's going on. Like, where am I? What is happening? Slowly, my brain's like, dude, you're in Amsterdam. You are in a hostel. You are in the room with the Spanish tourists. So calm down. So that was the first 12 hours in Amsterdam. The next eventful thing was the last day. I decided to partake, allegedly, in the fully legal in Amsterdam psilocybin truffles. Magic truffles. So we go to the shop that sells them. I tell the lady, miss, whatever the mildest ones are, because I've got to fly back to England tomorrow and I want to be on Earth when I do that. So she gives me a box. They were called Mexicana truffles. 2 servings in the box. the box says, do not eat more than half at one time. So my friend Heather, who was babysitting me for this adventure, and I went to a falafel shop. And guess what I do? I dumped the whole box onto my falafel and immediately eat all of them. There's one of the canals in Amsterdam, they have flowers from all over the world, everywhere. So that's the first place I wanted to go to, right when things start kicking in. So I'm looking at all these flowers from all over the world, and they're just, the petals are breathing and moving around. I'm just like, this is amazing. So then we go to this cafe right next to one of the canals. The seating is outside along the canal itself. So Heather and I sit underneath a weeping willow tree. And this is when things start getting pretty intense. So we're sitting there, and I'm looking at this weeping willow, and there's a breeze blowing. And suddenly I can hear each individual willow blowing in the wind. I can hear all the leaves on all the other trees individually, and they're magnified. And then boats going by, the motor, magnified noises. So my senses were so heightened that it became a bit much. So I'm having this like battle in my brain, like, you've got this, dude. Deep breaths, you've got this. Don't lose your mind, you've got this. So I won that battle, fortunately. Then we started walking around. I was amazed by there was a sushi bar that had a conveyor belt that went around the table. So like, you just, whatever you wanted, you just pick off the table. So I was watching that for like 10 minutes. We found this human-sized chess set that was on one of the streets, and two people were playing chess. So I watched them for a little while. That was pretty cool. And then we went to, I believe it's called Vonderpark. It's the biggest park in Amsterdam, in the city, giant park. We climbed a tree, sat on the branch, and just hung out. May or may not have enjoyed some of the devil's lettuce. So after that, it was time to go back. And my babysitter did not bring a map. And I didn't have a map. I probably couldn't have even read a map at that point, to be honest. But Heather was like, Conrad, we got to go back. We're going to have to stop and get a map or something because I don't know the way. And I looked at Heather and I said, follow me. I took us directly from Vonderpark back to the hostel. Every single intersection I knew, left, straight, right. I knew exactly where to go. We didn't go around in circles or anything. We went directly back to the hostel, and I just knew where to go. To this day, I do not know how that happened, but we got back to the hostel, and Heather was like, how did you do that? I don't know. Could it have been the psilocybin truffles? Maybe. I don't know. But that was Amsterdam. It was a good time. Do I recommend visiting? The Anne Frank house was really cool. Very sobering, because when to go in, you stand out on the street, like that's where the line is, and just thinking like, just several generations ago, there were Nazis running up and down the street, rounding people up. It was a weird thought, like standing on the same streets. It was very like strange and depressing, but important, I think. Important to visit the Anne Frank house. So that was definitely worth seeing. Would I stay in the city? If you're into partying and you don't want to get a lick of sleep, then yeah, stay in the city. Otherwise, stay a couple train stops up, go into the city during the day, because nighttime, that place is nuts. So that's my Amsterdam story. Do I have any other good stories tonight? No, I don't, because I'm going to keep story time short. So I hope you have a wonderful night, and I'll check in again with you in the morning.
Ohio. That is not only the state I live in, but good morning in Japanese. Oh, it's 8 a.m. It rained basically the entire night, which was nice to fall asleep to, but I would periodically wake up, and so I did not sleep very well. So I'm going to try to gather my thoughts and slowly get packed up and head back to the car.
Almost back at the parking lot. Safe and sound. No bear encounters, but I had some pretty awesome people encounters. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any comments, constructive criticism especially, I would love to know your thoughts, because I'm always trying to, I don't know, film a different way or add something someone who watches might like. So thanks again, and take it easy.